The Temperance movement. By 1830, the average American over 15 years old consumed nearly 7 gallons of pure alcohol a year, 3 times as much as we drink today. Among urban factory workers, this level of intoxication created unreliability in the labor force, dismaying employers. At home, women and children often suffered, for they had few legal rights and were utterly dependent on husbands and fathers for support. The excessive use of alcohol and other drugs was a symptom of the larger problems in society at the time. The temperance movement of the 19th and early 20th centuries was an organized effort to encourage moderation or press for the complete abstinence of intoxicating liquors. The movement's ranks were mostly filled by women who, with their children, had endured the effects of unbridled drinking by many of their menfolk. Because of the correlation between drinking and domestic violence, the temperance movement existed alongside various women's rights and other movements, including the progressive movement. The temperance movement employed many tactics to promote their message of moderation and abstinence of alcohol. These tactics included public lectures, marches, pledges to abstinence, an educational campaign, and forming alliances with other organizations. In fact, the temperance movement was supported by an incredibly diverse group, including Democrats and Republicans, the Ku Klux Klan, the NAACP, and successful industrialists such as Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller Jr. The Women's Christian Temperance Union, or WCTU, was formed in 1873 in Ohio to promote the temperance movement. Frances Willard, a former schoolteacher and college president, aided in the formation of the union, initially serving as the corresponding secretary. Frances Willard later became president of the organization, traveling around 30,000 miles and giving an average of 400 lectures per year. She lectured on topics such as suffrage and the devastation caused by drinking, which she connected to sexual and physical abuse in and outside the home. She wanted protection for the average woman, and said that men get away with their crimes because women do not have a voice in politics. The only ways to solve the problem, according to Willard, were to give women the right to vote and to reduce alcohol consumption in the United States. While serving as president of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, Frances Willard fought for suffrage and prohibition in many different ways. She attempted to convince First Lady Lucy Hayes and politician Davis Jefferson to join her cause. Although she was unsuccessful due to negative publicity, she taught in her lectures that women's rights were sustained by the Bible, using religion to support the cause. In 1888, she played a crucial role in the development of the world's Women's Christian Temperance Union, and in 1893 became president of that organization as well. Frances Willard would stop at nothing to work for temperance in the United States. Willard is a prime example of how the temperance movement empowered women to take action. In the movement, women were often leaders, lecturers, protesters, and active organization members. Not only did temperance provide this opportunity, but it also created space for women to voice their experiences. At events and rallies, women spoke about domestic violence, their experiences in the workplace, and how their children were affected by the overconsumption of alcohol at the time. The women's experience was at the center of the temperance movement. This allowed for greater awareness of women's issues, even in the years after the temperance movement's height. Women were not the only ones affected by the temperance movement. Men also formed their own organizations to promote temperance, particularly in religious groups. The Anti-Saloon League, a men's organization strongly supported by Protestant ministers and congregations, was formed in 1898. They became the primary prohibition lobby in America and were largely influential in the passing of prohibition law. The temperance movement's greatest achievement was the passing of prohibition law in 1919, which caused a temporary surge in the movement's strength. The longer the ban lasted, however, the clearer it became that America had changed its mind about complete abstinence from alcohol. The 21st Amendment repealed prohibition in 1933, sealing the temperance movement's fate as it lost steam. Although the temperance movement had dissipated, many of the ideologies behind it have stuck with Americans even today. Alcohol consumption has decreased significantly, and Americans are now more educated on the dangers of alcohol. Perhaps the most well-known temperance effort since the movement's heyday has been Alcoholics Anonymous, which treats alcoholism as a disease and does not seek governmental control of the liquor industry. America has changed its mind about the temperance movement, but not about the ideals which promote the movement. Thanks to the movement, women were given space in which to voice their opinions and experiences, and alcohol consumption was reduced in the United States. Many of the same issues that the temperance movement addressed, such as intimate partner violence, alcoholism, abuse, and crime, are still being worked on today. Moving forward, we hope to end violence and illness. But there's one thing that we know for sure: banning alcohol isn't going to solve those issues for us.